One of the unique things about our game is we bowl on what's called an invisible playing field because there's actually oil out on the lanes.
Right, and they're putting the oil out there really primarily to protect the lane. When the balls are going down the lane, there's so much friction that's created that the oil is sort of a barrier between the bowling ball and the lane.
As we discussed earlier about the different types of lanes that we have synthetics more common now versus the wood, that was one of the reasons that over time of all those bowling balls going down the lane and all those impacts, even though there was oil on the lanes, it would wear out the wood lanes and they'd have to refinish them or renew them, try to get them back into specs again to be able to compete, and it was easier just to go to synthetics.
Right, so the thing that we worry most about really kind of in a bowling center is crossing that foul line. We talked about that earlier. When you cross that foul line, that's where the oil is now laid down, and it becomes very, very slippery if you step on it.
And you can't see it. It's a clear liquid. It's almost like mineral oil. You can't see it, but it is extremely slick.
Right, and I mean, if you think about, I don't know how much exactly that they're putting out on a lane, but it's really not very much, but I guess it's the viscosity that makes it so slick that you got to be very careful to make sure you stay away from it.
And it's put out there for the protection of the lane and protection of the bowling balls. It's usually applied about 2/3 the way down the lane. So you have about 2/3 of the lane have oil on it, and then the last third has no oil on it. But there's usually more in the front too, because that's where the most impact of the bowling balls are there. So it's really put out there for protection of the lane and protection of your bowling ball.
Right. So when the ball kind of leaves where all that oil is that when we'll see the ball hook?
That's where we hopefully can see the ball hook, and we try to have the ball have more power at the pins. If there was no oil, the ball would slow down really very quickly, and it'd be hard to have any kind of power at the pin. So the oil can actually be an advantage for the bowler because it actually retains its speed longer, doesn't slow down as fast. And it's just like your car engine, you got to have oil to maintain it so it can perform, and it's the same thing in a bowling lane. For the bowling lane to perform, it needs to have oil.
So sort of vice versa. You wouldn't want oil from the foul line out of the way of the pins either, because then the ball would never create any traction. You'd never really see much change of direction.
Correct. And we put more oil closer to the foul line because of the impact, and there's more people play in the center part of the lane, so there's more oil in the center part of the lane as well. Closer you get to the gutters or to the edges, there's usually less oil over there. So if you think that there's too much oil, your ball sliding too much, maybe move a little bit to the right or the left, get a little closer to the gutter where you start, you'll have less oil.
Right, so that's really just kind of good lane play. If your ball's not hooking enough, if you feel like it's just going dead straight, like you were saying, there's less oil on the outside, move to the right. And most people are nervous about that because that's where the gutters are, and they feel like they need to stay away from that. But that's really where you're going to get the most help, kind of built-in help on the lane.
Yeah, I'd rather be over there and throw it away from the gutter towards that head pin than being close to the middle of the lane and then throwing it towards that gutter. I have a better chance of staying out of the gutter if I start over the gutter and go towards that head pin.
Right, so you want to be really smart about where you're standing and what angles you're attacking in order to hit the pocket.